But the Congress party thinks that it's even relevant to go out with campaigns glorifying Garibi Hatao even today, and to say that, somebody looks like Indira Gandhi, so that's the reason why we are still relevant in politics. Unfortunately, that is very serious, not for one, because the opposition is supposed to be challenging them, saying that you're not doing enough for the economy, but they are giving them the wrong inputs. They're saying, okay, you're not doing enough for the economy, but look at the 1970s.
See, Garibi Hatao as a slogan, I have no issues about it. I think you will not have, your viewers will not have any problem with Garibi Hatao. In a sense, it must be the stated or the very explicit goal of any government to reduce poverty. The billion-dollar question is how. Now, whether you are going to do through straight intervention, more taxes, more controls, or whether we should withdraw from, government must withdraw, create market forces, allow more equity rather than equality. See, our preamble talks about equality. It also talks about freedom or liberty. You can't have equality and liberty going simultaneously. You can have equality or liberty, not both. That's a mathematical impossibility.
Right.
Now, if you want to have the true growth in our economy, we must have certain further targets, like we should grow at next 12% for the next 10-12 years.
Correct.
And that must be the target, of which manufacturing must be given a very important role. Now, in 2011, there was a report by the Manmohan Singh government. By 2021, we will increase manufacturing from around 15-16% to 25-26%, 10% in 10 years. Now, 10 years later, we are actually gone down. After the Narendra Modi government took over, we have dropped probably a percentage or two in terms of share of manufacturing to the GDP. GDP has grown, no doubt. But the share of manufacturing has grown down. Yeah, you could ask some question.
No, yeah, especially when the government, one of the earlier programs was Make in India and things like that.
Exactly. Now make it, see, we are very good in coining slogans. Yeah. Okay, Make in India, Atmanirbhar, all these things are fine. But how does it translate at the ground level? There must be an eye for the details. We have to have a particularly clear vision about what we are doing. Now, Manmohan Singh government gave, as I said, let me go back to the example that I gave, or Make in India, as you pointed out. All these were phenomenal ideas, no doubt about it. But how? When you don't have proper electricity, when you don't have people, trained, when you don't have access to ports, your ports are still in primordial stages. When your export markets is not there, when China went into embark on an export drive in, say, early 90s, that's where China started opening up. Right. They pegged the yuan to 8.28 to a dollar and held it for almost 10-12 years. And China's spectacular rise in world trade is during those 10-12 years, after which you can never catch it. It has, to use the phrase of Rahul Gandhi, escape velocity. Then it has no longer bound by escape velocities. So it has reached that point. Now, what will happen to the rupee 2 months down the line? I don't know. I have to constantly look at the RBI website to find out whether rupee is 75, 73, 77. Tomorrow it may go to 83 also, it may come to 67 also. So as a manufacturer, the stability of the rupee, right, is a very important one. We can't have this free floating rupee because the manufacturing sector has to buy imports also, large quantities of various things. It may be technology, it may be several things. Now, what is the policy of this country? Forget the government. What is the policy of the country qua the rupee? Do you want a strong rupee? Which is what the BJP believes.
Correct.
Okay, BJP is so macho about it. It thinks that yes, there is a virtue in a strong rupee. We want to go it for 45. Even Swami Baba Ramdev has also promised that. So many people have talked about it that we should go for a strong rupee. I love a strong rupee. Personally, I also want a strong rupee. But yeah, it shows the power of the economy. But the Japanese have showed that the growth can be achieved through a weak economy.
Okay.
Weak currency. The yen is always considered a weak currency.
Right.
And whenever the yen rises, Japan is in gloom.
Okay.
Because they believe that they receive less for exports in dollars.
Right.
The Chinese have not thought about allowing the yuan to appreciate, and they have suppressed the value of the yuan so that they can get more yuan for a dollar when they export.
Right.
And the American, I think the Department of State has brought out a report repeatedly. I think once in 2 years they bring a report trying to say that China is constantly devaluing its currency and to help its exports. Now I'm saying all these things that various countries have various structured policies for their export and manufacturing. Right. Now you can't have Atmanirbhar Bharat and say also talk about 45 rupee to a dollar.
Right.
You can't see there is a policy paradox.
Yeah.
Now I'm not saying take it to 110 also.
Yeah.
Given assurance that come what may, we are having $600 billion. Now, is it not time for the Prime Minister to chalk out a very clear policy on the rupee?
Yeah. I mean, we have devalued the rupee many times.
Enough. We have. I think we have enough. In fact, the Americans charges that we have devalued it by around 40%. They say you are worth only 50 rupees. You are giving 75. But whatever it is, I am saying 45, 75, 50. Come, determine it and say we will hold it for the next 10 years unless there is some cataclysmic event. But we will hold on to the dollar at 75, and exporters and importers don't have to worry. Manufacturers don't have to worry about what will be the position of the rupee. So you insulate the economy from the financial market, the gyrations of the financial market. It helps people to take long-term views. That is very fundamental for an Atmanirbhar Bharat to succeed or a Make in India program to succeed. Second thing is, of course, skilled labor. Third thing is, of course, your labor laws. The labor laws have undergone tectonic changes. That's what people say on the paper. But every section, if you read, will have some proviso which says that you can be hauled up if you are a owner of a factory. The Companies Act underwent a tectonic change, or a new amendment came in the year 2014. So I used to teach my students something like this. If you do something, you go to jail. If you don't do something, you go to jail. That is Companies Act 2014. Then that was decriminalized only in 2019 and 2020, 6 years.
Right.
But by that time, you have corroded the confidence of the people, the system, and and every time you create a draconian law like this, you are giving actually an incentive to people to be suspecting the state.
Right.
You are spawning huge amount of corruption. Now, after all these things, you still have people like Nirav Modi's and Malia's.
Right.
Point is, every country will have scamsters. Koreans have their share of scamsters. Japan had the share of scamsters. Everybody has a share of scamsters. America had their own share of scamsters.
Right.
You must allow the system to be developed for those who are honest, not for those scamsters.
Right.
There is no foolproof law. Fools are far more ingenious. They will break the law.
Yeah.
Instead, you create a law for the ordinary men and go ahead and do it. So, unless we create a national manufacturing policy, of which the rupee policy is a very important component. I only highlighted the rupee policy, the labor policy.
Right.
And there are certain sectoral, shall I say, sectoral companies, like say L&T, for instance. Yesterday, I read an article by A.M. Nayak, who says we were outbid by companies who did not qualify. But because they quoted L1, and we could not compete their prices. They actually backed the contracts. And once they backed the contracts, because they lacked the technical progress, they could not deliver. And he says 4.5 lakh crores of project were actually delayed by such. Now, recently the government has moved away from L1 to L2, or that they abolished this L1 concept. But the damage is humongous. We have lost 30 years. L1 was something unworkable. But the belief in the system on L1 was so much that L1 is the best. Sacrosanct, cast in stone in tendering. These are things that we require to redo, and to undo the damage will take a couple of decades.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.